Alright guys, welcome back to another L5R Discord League cast. We have round 32 match. Alright guys, Wydwen versus Matavaster, aka RomanoSoprano. So we have a very exciting Scorpion mirror, and because of that I brought a Crane player with me. We have Luke on the co-cast.
Hello, hello.
And so we're going to take a look at some of these deck lists here. I have Wydwen's deck pulled up first. And these deck lists are really interesting. They're definitely a lot of they're very meta specific decks. Like, I don't think this is what you might see at a Kote per se, but when you know the field is going to be a lot of Scorpions, etc., you can make some calls. And so in Wydwen's deck here, we see some cards that we haven't seen from a lot of other players. We see 3 Fawning Diplomats in his Dynasty deck, which is a card that when it dies, it actually just takes the favor regardless of whether or not you won it by normal means.
Yeah, I have to imagine that that was selected just to make sure that you don't end up in a lock from a Phoenix player, possibly a Crane player with Yoshi. Just some of those decks that really start to punish you once you get the favor taken away from you just that first time.
Yeah, getting Conjuro District locked is not fun.
Especially since we see this deck only has 6 conflict characters. It's not running any Yojimbos or Unico, or sorry, not Unico, but Kachiko.
Yeah.
So we're really sort of relying on our Dynasty characters, which makes you more susceptible to those locks.
He also doesn't have any buffs other than 3 fans. So, breaking a military, without, like, he has Bonsai and that's it. Like, once the Bonsais are used, he has no military buffs, and Scorpion is notoriously weak on military.
Yeah, you have to imagine that this deck isn't really looking to smash its characters into the other side of the board. It's really looking to control and take advantage of weaknesses.
Yeah, and speaking of control, so we have 3 Fate Worse Than Death. We actually have 2 Ambush from Wydwen. I didn't even notice this. Ambush is a card that's kind of like a supercharge. So it looks like he's cut down on copies of actual charge and is playing 2 copies of Ambush instead. It lets you put up to 2 Scorpion characters with printing cost 6 or lower from your hand or provinces into play. It's kind of like Scorpion's version of Cav Reserves.
Yeah, and I think that hand or provinces really gives it some additional flexibility that you don't see from cavalry reserves or charge either. It can really be a very powerful card, and with 5 counters to back it up, it could potentially be counted on to actually resolve.
Yeah, speaking of 5 counters, so Wydwen has 2 Censures, which combo really well with the Fawning Diplomat. So the turns that he grabs the favor, he can just use the Censures instead of Edicts. And then we see, obviously, 3 Forged Edicts. His Dragon Splash is on 2 Let Goes and 3 Furies, and 2 Let Goes are the only attachment control he has. No calling in favors, which isn't going to hurt him in this matchup, but later down the road it definitely could. 3 Wave the Scorpion is going to hurt him in this matchup, though.
We do see that both players are very careful about their Scorpion mirror. So on Wydwen's side, that takes the form of 3 Favored Niece, 3 Way of the Scorpion. Really, if you have anything less than 3 Favored Niece, you're at a potential disadvantage if you draw those Way of the Scorpions early. We'll see that there really aren't much in the way of targets for that in today's match.
Yeah, the Let Goes in the Way of the Scorpions are going to have to be cycled. The only target in Soprano's entire deck is 1 Goblin Sneak. Is the only card that can be dishonored via Way of the Scorpion. So, taking a look at Soprano's deck, we have... Let's see here, I'm getting messaged. Okay, it looks like the game is up. Here is the password, Luke. Actually, it's just in the league channel. It's QWER.
Yep, it looks like we're waiting for the game to start.
And so, Soprano's deck here, he also has 2 Censures, but he doesn't have Fawning Diplomat, so he will be at a disadvantage when it comes to actually having those on for longer. He does have 2 Plagiarists, or 3 Plagiarists, but Plagiarist is actually not as good like against interrupts. They can't copy like Forge Edict or Censure. So we'll see if he can get good value out of those. So, all right, we're off. I'm just gonna post
All
the deck
right.
list in chat here. Both players are actually the only difference. One of the big differences is the provinces. Wydwen is playing Rally to the Cause under his stronghold, whereas RomanoSoprano is playing Ancestral Lands.
I actually think that could potentially be very significant. I've played as Crane against a Scorpion with Ancestral before, and as far as meta calls go, it can be very effective to help keep that break win con offline.
Yeah, Wydwen only has 3. Like he doesn't have any military buffs, so it's gonna be very hard for him to break that. So we'll see. All right, so
Both players have mulliganed all of their dynasty cards.
didn't like what I saw. So one thing I've noticed, I've watched a few Scorpion mirrors. One thing that'll happen is the honor totals will just start plummeting, and there will be just a lot of using the stronghold against each other and trying not to die, basically. This is a flop from Soprano. 3 holdings and an illusionist.
So we don't know what's coming from him since he's running 5 uniques for conflict characters, but we gotta hope that he got some of them with his flop.
For sure. Kachigo specifically is a really good one here because he's gonna have a surplus of fate.
So we see the Liar with 1 fate. It's a solid open, very economical. Immediately turns on Forged Edict and other. Well, I guess it would just be Forged Edict since we're not expecting a lot of attachment play.
Yeah, so Soprano has 0 and Wydwen has 3 fans, so not gonna be a very attachment heavy game.
3 stats for 1 fate and then Sincerity. A lot of people call this the best 1-drop. It's definitely at least tied for most effective.
I think it's the second best 1-drop. I still think I think it's worse than Doom Shugenja. I think the traits cancel each other. I think Shugenja is just as good as Courtier right now, and then I think the ability to be both on mill and political is stronger. And currently Doom Shugenja combos really well with Dragon's plan of sometimes having characters with no fate for Feast or Famine. So we see bids of 5. See, what is this? Political Earth at Secret Cache. And so, if Serrano didn't have a conflict
Secret Cache is a very good province for Romano if he hasn't already drawn his conflict characters.
Yeah, exactly. This will give him an opportunity. It lets him look at the top 5 cards of his deck and pick the best one. It is pretty insane. It's also a reaction on when it gets attacked. So it's not like only when it gets revealed. Every time you go back there, you give them a card. So Wydwen can't actually break this unless he has a character or a fan. So I wonder if Soprano will pass here.
Remember, he has no fans. Or he does have fans.
No, Wydwen
Sorry.
has 3.
Got
Wydwen
my
has
characters
3.
backwards. Yeah, and I think especially for political buffs, that's why you want to consider leaving those fans in your deck. It's just a lot harder to pump politically, especially with low glory characters.
Okay, so here's this. So I don't. Oh, we see an assassination coming. Okay, so he just assassinates it. I would have considered just letting it go through. You take 1 honor less for unopposed. Wait for Wydwen to play a card potentially, and then if he just resolves an Earth Ring. See, yeah, exactly. Now we're gonna see this Meek Informant show up. So we see City of the Open Hand stealing. So Soprano's hand is 2 Fate Worse Than Deaths, a Mono No RA, 2 Edicts, 2 Bonsais, a Fury, and a Calling in Favors. That Calling in Favors is going to be sitting there for a while until he gets a niece.
Yeah, I think that these are cards he would want to have eventually, but didn't want to draw into all of them at first, especially with the flop that he got. I have to wonder if he was just a little bit more optimistic than maybe I would have been when deciding not to play the Illusionist with a hand like that.
Yeah, I would have played Illusionist one Fate and just had it for defense. Maybe he was just really playing Mirumoto's Fury here is, I think, incorrect actually. So the reason I think it's incorrect to play Mirumoto's Fury here is you're paying a Fate and a card to essentially deny your opponent a conflict win and drawing one card. And I think the Fate is worth more than the random discard plus draw, because instead of you basically discarded a card already by stopping the conflict.
Right. We are turning off the Earth Ring, but we've spent 2 cards and only 1 card of our opponent's. And
yep.
yeah, now we're still open to an Adept of Shadows coming down or any similar play.
Exactly. I think you just take your lick. You take you take your conflict loss. You take your random discard. Who knows? It could hit calling in favors and just be actual positive. Yeah, Joe pointing out you discard one of the best cards in your hand to stop them from drawing a card. Exactly. I think people. Yeah, exactly. I think people try and not lose conflicts too much. Like, if it's not breaking in this situation, you've already gotten your card from Secret Cache. Like, you're not gonna go down. You're not gonna go down too far. Losing the honor's not a big deal. I would have just taken my loss. But now Adept of Shadows is gonna come in on a Paul attack. I wonder if he Fate Worse than Deaths this.
We know he doesn't have a character, so this is for the ring and the favor.
Yeah, we're seeing it. I just saw his fate. I just saw his fate go down. I actually don't think this is that bad. So, Wydwen was going to be able to return this to his hand and then also take a military conflict. Now Wydwen won't be able to do either.
Yeah, it gets that Adept of Shadows permanently killed because they won't be able to pick it up, as you said. There are worse cheap characters to play a Fate Worse Than Death on.
Agreed.
At this point, statistically speaking, Wydwen's not going to be able to get a ring, and we're going to push the conflict or push the favor contest to the next round.
I think Soprano actually, if the board ends like this, I actually think Soprano is reasonably ahead. Being up 3 Fate is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, even on Honor, up 3 Fate. I think that you could reasonably say that Romano is ahead after that.
Soprano
it's
forget
a small
did he forget to use Cityalize?
No, he used it.
Oh, he used it for the
For
Fury.
the Fury.
Okay, yeah.
Oh my god, this is just not his day.
This is fine. You can just buy Yunako, or you can pass and draw 5. You have another Fate Worse Than Death in your hand.
Yeah, that's true. Looking across the table at those 3 characters when you know your opponent doesn't have Kachiko,
he has 3 charges
not
too.
the worst.
So he, a lot of Scorpions like to charge Yunako. Look, Joe, it's just Scorpion things, all right. Instead of buying characters, instead of buying characters to prevent conflict breaks, you just use cards, all right. You crabs wouldn't understand.
I suppose I definitely agree with you. He hasn't played any conflict characters yet. Having Unico and favorable ground with an empty board is fine.
I would definitely buy Yunako here. I think I would buy Yunako to Fate, but nope, just doesn't want to. Takes the passing Fate. Welcome to Scorpion. We see Manipulator and Rumormonger from Wydwen. Rumormonger not as good in this matchup. Mostly because there's not that many like characters you want to move. Like there's a lot of characters that get Dishonor, but they're just mostly small characters anyway. So moving it doesn't really help as much.
Yeah, and we see Wydwen has 2 courtiers up. It's going to be hard for Romano to resolve any high impact events.
It can protect against court games. Rumormonger is really good against court games.
Oh yeah, I don't Disagree. And we did see that he used the manipulator to get that extra card for free using his stronghold.
Yep.
Although if Romano takes an unopposed, he can steal it back.
The real question here is, did Romano find a conflict character? He does only have 5.
Yeah, it really seems like he's taking a line that would be a lot more familiar for a deck that's running 9 or 10 conflict characters. When you're running 5 singletons, it seems a little bit high variance to play it this way, but he may well get away with it.
Yeah, I agree. What are his 5? It's Kachiko, Adept of Shadows, 1 Magistrate, 1 Sneak, 1 Informant. So no Yojimbos. Both players having Cutting Magistrate could actually lead to some really wacky conflicts, where every character is dishonored and no one contributes. No, it doesn't keep them free of dishonor. It just, like, cause you're still picking the dishonored character, right? So it doesn't actually do anything for Forged Edict. You would just pick your character that you want dishonored anyway. I guess if you misclick, your Rumonger can help you. So Romano doesn't.
Well, you can put it on a non-courtier though. So
I see what you're saying. Okay. Oh, that's
you can
smart.
redirect it onto the favorite target is definitely
Sinister Soshi.
Yeah, Soshi.
Okay, I actually no that's my bad, B-May. I did not quite understand what you're saying. That is very true. So runs into Meditations, definitely the province he wants to see. I wonder how many cards Soprano's going to invest into this conflict. It is a political conflict, so we will not see a charge here.
I believe that Wydwen would not give a charge opportunity unless he was holding an edict. So we see that Singleton Kachiko coming down with 3 fate. This is going to change this game.
So if Wydwen has fate worse than death here, he'll just crush this conflict, because Soprano will be forced to edict, and then Wydwen will just edict back. I'm assuming he has one. He has 15 cards in his hand.
Yeah, we don't know if he has one. I'd say it's likely that he does at this point.
If I'm Wydwen, if I have edict here, I absolutely fire off fate worse than death.
And he is thinking, so I would say he has some answer.
He could want to save the fate and play for shame instead.
It's not the worst thing in the world to lose this.
Interestingly enough, he contests Earth. I guess Earth is the only reasonable one. So we see a dishonor status come. Oh, so it was fate worse than death. So Wydwen's fate has gone down, and here's the edict. Yep. So Wydwen's fate went down to 2. So we saw fate worse than death on Bayushi Kachiko. Soprano tried to edict, and then Wydwen edicted back.
Did we see a second forged edict in Romano's hand? He just doesn't have another courtier.
Yeah. He had 2 on the first reveal. He just doesn't have another character. And so, getting pretty savage on that attack here. Big fate investment just to get blanked. He will be able to steal with his stronghold.
If Wydwen can't find another way to productively lose a honor.
Yeah. Like right now.
Right.
I wonder how, no, see, okay, so we see a court games to dishonor. I don't know if I like this. You know what would have been, what might have been good is moving Kachiko back in to court games her.
Yeah, I think that would potentially be better just to start looking ahead. We do still have a fate lead both in his fate pool and on the board for Romano. He's just been having trouble productively using it. Yeah, what just happened? Wait. So Wydwen uses court games.
Oh, okay. He should be neutral. can't actually use the court games to honor your opponent's character.
Yeah, I wonder if that's what he meant.
There's nothing to well, like the thing is, there's nothing to misclick. The card just can't honor an opponent's character. Trust me, I've read this card multiple times trying to get my opponent to break Feast or Famine. It definitely just cannot honor your opponent's character. So we've sorted it out. The sequence was Soprano dishonors Manipulator, trying to get him down to 0. Wydwen then just court games to bring him back to neutral. A lot of cards being played here just for what is almost assuredly not going to be a break. If Soprano has a conflict character, he could potentially go for a water conflict, military, and try and ready Kachiko for a political attack. Alright, so there's the unopposed. Earthring discards Mono Noir at random, which is actually probably fine. I don't think he was going to cast that anytime soon. And then we see Soprano using his Stronghold to steal an honor. Soprano passes conflict opportunity. Really exciting game we got here, guys. This is a match that in
Well,
like
now
a paper.
that the dust has settled, we see Wydwen up 4 cards.
So Wydwen's going scouting here. Scouts Pilgrimage. Contesting Void, but it's gonna get neutered. Even with Bonsai, he can't break this because City of Lies gives 1 strength.
Yeah, we see that benefit doesn't come into play all the time, but quite frequently, that all of these Scorpion holdings that they use while they have those conflict characters do give strength to their provinces. So that traditional play of pumping a 1/1 by 4 to break a 5 no longer works.
It's really funny too. I find that people, including myself, forget about holding strength all the time when attacking provinces. I've definitely double bonsai to 1 not to break Pilgrimage with a holding and just been real sad. This is a matchup that in like a paper tournament I feel like would always go to time. Like the players just can't break provinces fast enough.
I think that is a consideration for the Discord Cup, that you can build your decks in a way where they don't have to win in any particular time frame.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad thing, right? Like, I don't think every single tournament has to be the same. It is, I think, a positive and a negative that these matches are not timed. Obviously, sometimes the viewing experience and the playing experience against untimed matches is not the greatest, but it does allow for strategies and for players to play what I would say optimally. When time is a factor, you have to take a lot of non-optimal lines. Tofu24, I don't know if he ever played like a matchup like this where both players don't have any buffs and are just, you know, passing conflicts left and right. Like, it's just one of those things that, because of the way the untimed format is, you can take it a little bit slower.
So something, as we are talking about breaking being difficult, I wanted to point out that Wydwen is running 3 Blackmail Artist, and his opponent is running 0.
Ooh, that could be could be big.
If Dishonor is the decisive win con, that could make a big difference.
Yeah, I actually think that is going to be the win con of this game, almost assuredly. So, we see that Wydwen is now down to 7 honor at the start of this turn, so that allows him to use his Stronghold in draw step.
He could decide to do that, or he could decide to use some mind games, because it will just be taken back if the difference remains at 1.
That's
so
true.
I would imagine that he would try to widen the difference before using it, or otherwise utilize the action.
So
The
we see
plagiarist comes
plagiarist.
into play. The current action is court games.
Yeah, so it's gonna be really important that Soprano act. I would probably activate that in conflict. I cannot think, like, I don't think Wydwen is the type of player who will play a Fate Worse Than Death with the plagiarist still online.
The court games is much worse with the rumor monger across the field.
It is, but it's a free action, right? So you just get to do it.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's quite likely to become worse if you let Wydwen play around it.
Joe says, holy, Romano bought a character and then two characters. Tofu with Dynasty Purchase Poggers. No,
Wow.
the shade of Scorpion is really high. Like, people really don't like this playstyle. I wonder if the devs even thought about this, where people would just be not playing in Dynasty.
Well, they have to have thought of it when they created a hard limit at an arbitrary number for conflict characters.
That's true. I actually think a deck with like half conflict characters wouldn't be that good. Like, I think the diminishing returns on conflict characters is too high, where you start running out of like room for buffs
Yeah,
and
I
actual real
agree.
cards.
But with a much larger card pool, that could be different.
That's true. So we see the Runemonger here running into Meditations. He doesn't want to give him the Seeker Fate and give him Activation of Shameful.
So this is a military conflict that's notable because charge and ambush is online. I don't.
Ambush, it can be in political, right? Or does it have to be military?
I actually don't know.
Ambush
I'll check.
during a conflict, so you can ambush during political.
Well, he's doing military into a province. I think it makes sense with Soshi across the field. You need to be able to buff to guarantee that this will do anything.
So we see a fire ring here. I wonder if he will try and if he'll honor Hero A. So Soshi activation makes the strength 0. Are we gonna see a charge here?
I think it's going to be a charge or a bonsai. Um, Otherwise, I don't really see why it would have to be military. You could just be saving the political for the 6 strength Heroe, though.
Wait, he'd be 5, right? It's 4+1 right now.
That'd be correct, yeah.
One thing to note is that there were 3 rings that had 2 fate on them. And while Soprano has gotten passing fate each round, Wydwen did grab fate off of rings last turn because he was the only person who made attacks. See, Tenerum, I don't agree with that. I think if Scorpion ran 14 conflict characters, they would just have a problem getting breaks and actually defending enough. When your characters are coming out of conflict, you need cards also to support them. And the reason Scorpion does so well right now is, like, 24 of those cards. They play the 24 best conflict cards they can. Yeah, Joe points out if Wydwen took military favor, he'd be winning here. So we see a single bonsai. We do not see it being kicked. One thing to note is that in this matchup, the often not used mode of bonsai, which is lose an honor for no reason, is actually really good.
Yeah, I agree. We did see that they already traded strongholds this round, though. So Romano might be looking to go down one more.
He could like triple bonsai just to go down to 6, and then next turn he'd be able to do the thing.
Yeah, we did see that Wydwen didn't play around the plagiarist. Going for the bonsai leaves that available for a strong military swing back when he just has a Heroe.
So we see City of Lies reducing the cost of the event, and then he plays Miyamoto's Fury. I think Wydwen's actually really fine with that. Again, Joe's statement of if he had taken military favor comes in here. Military favor would be insane right now.
I tend to like taking the offsuit conflict type for favor until we're ready to swing in the stronghold. So for Scorpion, that would be military more often.
For Crane, sometimes I see political, depending on your board. Like, if you have, like, Narishma, Brash Samurai, like, your military is good enough, maybe you do need the political.
Yeah, it's always fair in L5R to say that the board trumps any sort of preconceived notion.
Alright, so here's the charge on Yunako. Now, is Soprano going to play his own charge?
Or he could play Wydwen's charge.
Oh, that's true. Actually, that's pretty sick, right? Like, you just copy charge right now. It doesn't cost you a card, and then you can see what Wydwen wants to do. Of note, Wydwen does have a courtier in the conflict with this rumor monger, so for shame could be on. Yeah, Joe points out you can't edict the plagiarist charge either. So yep, plagiarist copies charge. Wydwen passes. We're gonna see charge Yunako from Soprano. We could see both players just using the Yunako swap first to see what happens. Tenor, and by reverse steward, you mean that characters cannot become honored in this conflict? That'd be pretty cool. Like, that would be a really flavorful card. What's Steward of Chaos then, right? Yeah, Steward of Chaos. It'll end 2-2 or 4-4, Joe. I would imagine it would end. It's if Soprano wants it, he'll have it be 2-2, and then if Wydwen wants it, it would be 4-4. Look, Joe, they're not gonna name the card that. Alright, so Wydwen passes. He doesn't use Yunako. I wonder if Soprano will use Yunako. I would just to make my opponent do it.
Wydwen has more cards in hand than in deck right now.
Classic. That is well, I remember when I was learning this game, I kept drawing I just kept drawing a bunch of cards, and I asked like what's the max hand size in this, and then when I was told none, I'm like, oh, this is my kind of game. No 7-card limit here. So Soprano plays a bonsai now. I wonder if he will go for the triple kick. Looks like he just goes for a single bonsai because Wydwen has already played a bonsai. I would have considered kicking it, because then a for shame doesn't make you tie the conflict. You could take a for shame dishonor and still.
Yeah, it's important to remember that bowed rumor monger still leaves for shame online.
And Yunako does have 2 glory. A lot of Scorpion characters. So he just bows with for shame here. Interesting. So if he just kicked the bonsai, he could have dishonored it and then made Wydwen play a second for shame. This province breaking isn't that bad. Yeah, so we see Soprano just take the break, which is perfectly fine because Meditations is the most farmable province in this matchup.
Could Romano have potentially utilized all those cards he attempted to defend with on the attack, though, to greater benefit, considering the fact that Wydwen is holding half his deck in his hand? How likely are you to hold that defense with just a Unico?
I think so. He played 1 card, or 2 cards. He played 2 real cards and he used a plagiarist action, right?
Yeah, that's true. It wasn't actually that many cards, but
So I think
I still do wonder if those cards could have been used on the offense. He's not had any offensive momentum at any point in this game.
Well, what if he just double kicked the bonsai and then took the dishonor and then made Wydwen play a second for shame he probably has? I think he'd be in a better spot. It costs Wydwen another card, and I actually think Meditation's breaking is not a bad thing.
Yeah, there's no easy choice anymore.
So he dishonors the plagiarist instead of honoring Hiroe. Oh, this turns off Forged Edict. That's fair. That's reasonable. Yeah, Joe. The max hand size in this game is 30. Or not 30. It's 40.
Well, it's 45, isn't it?
Oh, sure, right. Because sorry, I haven't seen anyone run 45 cards, so I guess it would be 45.
Although you could get to 48 if you bounced your 3 copies of Yukuni to hand.
You can get up to 40 or 51, right? You splash 3 Adeptus Shadows.
Oh, there you go, yeah.
All right, so max hand size is 51. We did it. We broke the game. Let's go make that deck. Never play a card and bounce Yokunis and Adams to our hand. Alright, so Soprano here runs into Shameful Display. Kind of awkward. I wonder if Soprano will defend here. Or not Soprano, Wydwen. So Wydwen can defend, and he can pull in Yunako to get another Dishonored token onto Soprano's board.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to be quite likely to keep himself out of Kachiko range and disrupt the board further.
Tenerim points out that with Blackmail, you could get three of your opponent's Adeptus Shadows. So it's 54 cards, it looks like. Look, Mittens, this isn't about, like, feasibility. It's just, it's not like we didn't think about whether or not we could do it. It's not about we should do it.
It's like calculating the maximum skill that's achievable in the game. It's just fun.
Yeah, exactly. Add up to shadows. It says return this card to your hand. No, Joe, it's 51, right? So you can play Dragon, and then you can copy Adept with Yokuni, and then you can use actual Adepts. So 51 for sure. Blackmail, I'm not sure. I'm not sure the wording in this game. They don't. This game.
I believe that regardless of which hand the card returns to, once it leaves play, it will go to the corresponding owner's field or zone. Rather.
Yeah, so it doesn't use the word controller or owner. That's a Magic thing. In Magic, it either says controller or owner.
Yeah, there's a rule in the reference guide for L5R that cards can't exist in zones that are out of play if they aren't owned by that player.
Okay, so it always goes. It always goes to your opponent's hand then. Yeah, all right. Oh, Mitten's quoting it right now. If you take control of Adept the Shadows via Blackmail or Actress, it goes to its owner's hand. So yeah, for 48 then, because Adept is among the base 45 cards you use.
No, that. Oh yeah. That's
yeah, you and I both missed that. This is why we have chat.
I believe I was the one who said 48 first, though.
I do.
Okay, what's happening in this game? Let's get back to the responsibilities.
So nothing is actually happening, which is why I'm waiting here. So we see here.
Well, he pulled in the Plagiarist instead of the Unico, though.
I think he just wants it so Soprano can't declare another attack.
Oh, that's pretty wise of him, I would say.
Because then Soprano would be able to attack the airing if Wydwen doesn't have a character here. I need to get some non-English versions of these cards. Of L5R cards for when I play in tournaments. I love playing with non-English cards. I wonder if
the maximum troll move is to play with the full bleed no text Elton Sarnai.
Because no one knows what it does.
That's right. It's like I forgot about that card.
What I wonder if L5R cards come in Japanese. I would have to imagine. Yeah, Mittens. My entire Magic the Gathering deck that I have is entirely in Japanese. So we see activation of Shameful Display here. So Hiroi goes up to 6. So he's winning the conflict.
Was Rumor Monger triggered already?
No.
Could he have moved the Dishonor to something more productive?
I don't think you
And
can
would
because
he?
it's not actually becoming Dishonored again.
Ah, yes, that would be the
Right?
reason why.
Like,
Yep.
correct. I would say correct me if I'm wrong because I don't know the rules in this game as well as I do in other games, but I'm pretty sure he's just not becoming Dishonored.
So what could either player have? Are we pending on Wydwen here?
Yes.
That
No, we're pending on
okay.
Mittens. Oh no, not Mittens.
Oh.
Sorry. Soprano passes. I'm getting chat mixed up. Soprano passes, so we're waiting on Wydwen.
Wydwen is winning. So what tempo play could he possibly want to do here?
Oh, this play's actually sick, right? So he's gonna get the plagiarist. Oh no, it's not gonna become Dishonor again. I was thinking he could Dishonor it with Hiroi and then move it, but it's the same thing. It's already Dishonored, so it's not gonna become Dishonored again. See, this is where, if I was in paper, I would have said I need you to make a play already, because this is pretty insane that we're seeing any amount of tanking here when the conflict is over.
Yeah, there's always some leniency when a player has 16 cards in hand, but he's winning on defense, and you very rarely see tanking in that situation.
See, the thing is, I don't think you should.
Oh, it was pending on Romano.
Oh, I see. Pass, shameful. Okay. That's fair. So to your point of because he has a lot of cards in his hand, he should get more leniency. I think that's incorrect. You should get the same amount of time, regardless of the number of cards that you have versus the number of decisions you have to make. It just keeps the game fair, right? Just because the board state is complicated doesn't mean that you should be allowed more time. It's to keep the game fair. You should just have a set standard on what slow play is. Like part of a skill in the game is being able to assess a situation regardless of how complicated it is in a reasonable amount of time. So we see a second Adept of Shadows here from Wydwen. Really strong play now.
So that is the last Adept of Shadows. I do like putting it down with a Fate here. No reason to tunnel vision on the action when Honor is a decisive mechanic in the game.
I wonder if Soprano will try and assassinate here.
Regardless of what he tries to play, will it land?
Probably not, right? Like, I would imagine Wydwen has at least
We have
one
two
more.
Censures and two Forged Edicts that
Oh
could
yeah,
be played.
two Censures too. Jeez, yeah, no way it would ever resolve. Oh god, Soto, not Hearthstone timers. Nazdormu. Just hit him with the Nazdormu.
Yeah, so Censure does come down on the assassination.
90 seconds for you auto pass.
Could we see an attempt at a second disruption?
I would imagine no. Even if he played Miramotosphere, I think Wydwen would be fine to return it to his hand and play it again. It would go Fate negative, but he would get a break. He could play another. He could attempt another Fate Worse Than Death, but that would just be really dumb in my opinion because of a potential second Censure or Forge Edict. He's going for it. I can't imagine it's gonna resolve. Looks like it is.
I mean, if it does resolve, it'll be likely because Wydwen already accounted for that.
I find it hard to not counter this if I have one. Huh.
So it looks like we might have 3 counters in the bottom 16 cards.
Someone said, Tenor points out, didn't someone do a sketch on how ridiculous the names are to actual Japanese people? Apparently Shiba Sukune means little dog meatball.
That works for that character.
Only when it's dishonored. Only when it's dishonored. When it's honored, we have Big Dog Meatball. So after the Fate Worse Than Death, we see a Cunning Magistrate show up to still attempt this break. Maybe you're right. Maybe Wydwen just doesn't care about this card and just like whatever.
It does feel like that one Fate on the Adaptive Shadows. To me, it's either him saying that I want to keep this character around, or it's bait. It looks like it.
Yeah,
may
it
have
was.
been.
It definitely felt like bait, right?
Now, with most of the board, in fact, all of the conflict characters that can enter conflicts rolling into the next round will be dishonored already. That Cunning Magistrate is really quite strong.
Was that the third Fate Worse Than Death? It was. I have to imagine Wydwen doesn't have another counter.
Yeah, at this point, certainly not. And that was to get an air effect. So at that point, do you actually play the Cunning Magistrate if you actually don't have a counter? Because you're gonna have your counters next round.
I would, because I don't put my opponent on having the third Fate Worse Than Death. I don't play around the third one.
Well, you have to adjust your math when you know they had two in the first 9 cards.
Do you though? It's still one. It's still one in whatever the rest of the deck is. It's like just because you got too early doesn't mean.
It's probably like a third of the games. They have that third Fate Worse Than Death, maybe a little more depending on what they.
No, right. So
cash.
he saw it in his first opening hand, which was 9 cards, right? So in 9 cards he'd seen 2 Fate Worse Than Death. So then to see the the third Fate Worse Than Death is a 1 in 31. It's 1 in 30. It's 5 in 31 for the next turn, and then the turn after that it's 5 in 26. Or do you know what I mean?
I do follow. So you're probably right. The question is whether you need to make a play on any dice roll when you're in his position.
Is it a dice roll? That's absolutely a win for Wydwen. He made his opponent spend 8 fate to stop a conflict, and the Cunning Magistrate's still
putting
here.
two on the Cunning Magistrate does hedge against the third of Fate Worse Than Death quite well.
Even losing this Adaptive Shadows, you're still way up on fate, and on impact cards, right? Fate Worse Than Death is really important in this matchup. Now, to be fair, I would imagine Wydwen doesn't have a counterspell because he was just going for the break, and so you bait the first one, and then you just go for it. But it might be a stylistic thing. I'm always of the opinion that to make my opponent show it to me.
Yeah, I think he played it correctly, such that even if his opponent did show it to him, he was not going to be in a bad position necessarily. So.
Currently, the Plagiarist is off because the top action top event is Censure, and Plagiarist can only copy actions.
He can only see the top event, and he only copies the action abilities from that event. So yeah, it's off right now.
So Wydwen actually plays a Dynasty character, plays Yunaka with 2 Fate. We see Liar come out from Soprano. Are we going to see the other Liar and maybe the Soshi, now that he doesn't have that many expensive cards in his hand? Charge Diplomat's pretty sweet. I just thought Charge and Ambush on Diplomat is like a really cool combo. I just realized Wydwen has access to. He still has the favor, but I mean...
Yeah, either Charge or Ambush on the Diplomat. They're both strong plays.
Obviously, not necessarily in this situation where Wydwen has the favor, but in other matchups where he wouldn't have it. Chat's talking about how Phoenix, she was a dog breed, and then Phoenix should change their name to Dog Clan. So, yep, we see the second Liar, and we see the Soshi. So, Soprano has out a pretty wide board here. Wydwen having access to his favorable grounds is pretty insane with this Cunning Magistrate. Means that Kachiko and the Plagiarist can get blanked. I'm assuming both players are still bidding 5. Or I guess no. I guess Wydwen can't bid 5 here because you have potential to die.
I don't think you have pressure to bid 5 with the 13 to 12.
Yep.
Or, sorry, 13
yeah,
to...
we see 1 and 3. Okay. I think I would have bid a little higher if I was Wydwen, but maybe he's trying to go for the Dishonor win now.
The Dishonor win now is very doable. We have a Dishonored Kachiko, 1 Fate Plagiarist, and a bunch of unused Dishonor effects left in Wydwen's deck.
Well, not necessarily. So it's only for shame isn't a guaranteed Dishonor, and it's only court games, right? So it's potential for 2 court games to be played this turn.
Well, with Hiroe, you can pull in a bowed character
Oh,
for
sure,
shame.
okay. I would have thought he would just waited maybe until he saw a Blackmail Artist and gone for it that turn.
Yeah, but if we go by that, as far as the Dynasty timer, they're only about halfway through their decks. It could be a waiting game at that point.
I mean, so Wydwen hasn't seen a single one, and so he's at 26 cards now. If he mulligans all 3, he has 4 and 20. 4 and 26. I mean, like, so you're 1/6 to see a Blackmail Artist. That's pretty reasonable.
Well, it's 4 and 27 because it could be that face down shameful display card.
Oh, so it's 3 and 26 then.
But yeah.
That's fair. I
mean, it doesn't change it that much.
So
I think that he will wait as long as he needs to not take undue risks, because I still think he's in a pretty decent position.
Do you go air here if you're Soprano? Nope, going earth. Hit Secret Cache. Well, back to my point, I was saying that maybe Wydwen could have bid 2 or something and like disable the Scorpion box. Right? Because if he bids 2, the honors then he would have been the one that was below actually, and he would have been able to box. But then I guess Soprano boxes back, so never mind.
Wydwen has used, what, 0 assassinations this game so far,
yeah.
So he can tank his own honor if he needs to.
He's on 2, or no, sorry, he's on 2 also, and so he could play 1 and then steal. That's reasonable. It's pretty insane how fast these players have managed to tank the honor pool. We started with 20 honor in the pool, and now we're down to 9. So Wydwen defends with Hiroe. This signifies that he might try and win. Oh, he's just gonna hook a character, because he can't hook the Soshis. So this attack's actually pretty nice from Soprano. It forces, it means that Wydwen can't dishonor another one of his characters with Hiroe.
I think the Earth Ring might be a little gutsy, though.
Yeah, I think I would have gone, I think Void and Air were the 2 best rings. Potential to void off the Hiroe protects your Plagiarist and protects your Soshi. We see a Miramoto's Fury.
Alright, so that's the first of 3 from Wydwen.
Well, now Plagiarist can copy Miramoto's Fury, which is really strong. Although Wydwen did take military favor now, so it will help against it won't help against the military attack.
And Wydwen's done a good job of scouting the 2 glory characters out of Scorpion can't be furied.
Yep, that's true. So Yunako can't be furied, and Yunako and Shouju are the and Hero are the 2 glories. So we could see a military water then stand Hero and go for a political. Because the Cunning Magistrate can hold off the other 2 characters. So we see a court games from Soprano using it to dishonor Hero. I assume Wydwen will play a court games here to either re-honor.
Again, that's a really gutsy play. To assume he still has the flexibility to disrupt the opponent's honor when his own is showing 2 after his characters leave play.
Well, the Plagiarist isn't necessarily leaving play this turn, right? Like it's not a guarantee.
Yeah, it's definitely not a sure thing, especially with 2 Soshis usable.
So we see a fan here. does Soprano have a calling in favors or a let go? Because there's
I
only
think we
three.
saw calling in favors early in the game.
Yeah, it's in his hand. Actually, you're right. It is risky though, but we're gonna see it. He's gonna do it on his lyre, and it looks like he's gonna attempt to take control of this fan. Wydwen lets it happen, so we're at 5-2. So now our first shame can bow out this lyre pretty easily.
Or for shame can put another dishonor on the bowed lyre.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's better actually. That's pretty reasonable. You could pull Koch. He hasn't used the harpoon action yet. So if Soprano commits too much to this, Wydwen can pull Kachiko and then use favorable ground to move the cunning magistrate in. Oh wait, no, then Kachiko will send it back out. Never mind. Yeah, Matron, welcome to Scorpion. Low honor fest indeed.
Forged edict to cancel Miyamoto's fury. So he's putting that dishonor on himself.
Wow. This is so risky. He's already used his Scorpion
So
stronghold.
are you willing to say that he's playing gutsy now?
No, I'm willing to say he's playing dumb. I think we've crossed the line from gutsy to dumb. He has 3 dishonor in play. He's not contesting the air ring, and we see his stronghold already used. This is, yeah, I don't know. I think he's dead actually. Yeah, Wydwen's like, whatever, dude, take it.
I mean, what happens if Romano attacks? He defends with Cunning Magistrate and there's no stats.
No, you have double Soshi activation.
I mean, no stats from Romano.
No, you can minus the magistrate, right?
Well, that just means Wydwen has no stats. I mean, there are no attackers that aren't dishonored. If Wydwen... Well, oh, sorry. So Romano's attacking now, right?
Yeah.
So the next conflict goes to Wydwen.
So Wydwen
Oh no,
Wydwen's got it. Wydwen's got it. He just assassinated a liar, and so he's gonna use his stronghold to go up, and then then Soprano's just dead on board.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's true.
So all Wydwen has to do is, so he attacks here, or so he pulls in the plagiarist. You pull in the plagiarist with Hiroi. So that's one less character that Soprano has. Then you do a military attack on the air ring, and you have military favor. So you can just military air into pilgrimage, and it doesn't even matter that the ring is canceled because you win on board.
Yeah, absolutely.
Void is also a possibility. I like denying air, because then your opponent can't possibly gain 2. I would absolutely contest air here. Like, you could just military cunning magistrate in at like either secret cache or pilgrimage.
Well, pilgrimage would be likely better, right?
Yeah, just to deny your opponent any resources because he's just dead on board. Yeah, Tenorum, the assassination was beautiful actually, because it put him 1 below and it just leaves him dead on board. To the 2 characters with no fate.
Don't want to say called it, but did called it.
Look, this is why I have you as my co-caster. I'm just a
well, I mean, how hard is it to call something when someone's drawn their whole deck and you see their deck list?
He hasn't drawn his whole deck. He hasn't even drawn 3/4 of a deck. Come on.
Well, the fact that we know that he hasn't drawn his counters mean that the fact that he's drawn everything else goes way up.
Yeah, that's fair. Look, I'm just a lowly dragon whose dial is stuck on 5. Contesting air. Yep. So we just see both characters. Oh, both characters military into pilgrimage, or not? Yeah. So Soprano can't actually defend this, and he doesn't have enough minus stats to stop this. We'll probably see a bonsai here if needed.
Yeah, so now he's dead to the conflict and dead on board.
Well, he has to block. So this is yeah, he has to block because otherwise unopposed just super dead. Did Soprano use his plagiarist to copy, or did he wait? It doesn't look. I don't think he used it. So now the plagiarist. Oh no, the plagiarist is not off. But there's nothing to target with assassination, so it doesn't matter.
It's super high skill, high level play to use assassination when you have 2 honor.
Oh wait, you still have to pay the cost?
You have to pay the ability costs, but not the fate costs.
Oh, okay. I thought you could just use it. Well, actually, it's just not possible to cast on 2 honor. You have to be able to make a payment, and you can.
I was just being a little
No,
snarky. Okay, so we see
talking
a
to
cunning
Matron.
magistrate come down on defense. I can't imagine that'll do anything.
I was talking to Matron in chat.
Well, I mean, you could argue that you can't cast it from 2 honor. You could also argue that you're scooping your board when you drop your hand.
Oh yeah. That you can just concede also, but like, yeah, you're not allowed to like. In Magic, if I have 1 life, I can't lose the game by paying 2 life because I don't have the life to pay. So we see Soshi activation. Like I don't think that Wydwen cares because Wydwen can't lose. One thing to note is that Soprano is also first player, so if for some insane reason Wydwen also would lose to Dishonor, Soprano will lose first because his characters will leave play first.
So one decision that Wydwen can make is how to use his favorable ground. If he puts Hero A in the conflict, he can harpoon one of the standing characters, or he can pull back either of his.
I like moving Hero A in and then harpooning Kachiko, because then the illusionist doesn't have any strength on mill. I guess Kachiko has no strength on mill either.
Yeah, the remaining conflict being military. I have to imagine that Wydwen has actually solved this.
I don't know how hard it was to solve when your opponent killed themselves. Like, opponent was at 4 and then just played 2 Dishonor effects on their own. Yeah, but so Wydwen, like, Wydwen would have to... I think Wydwen's gonna get the break here on Pilgrimage, though, and then he'll resolve the airing. Yep, moves in Hero A, gonna harpoon a character. There's a first shame. Oh, okay, so he has a courtier in the conflict now also, so there you go. I still think you harpoon a character, but I could be wrong. Actually, there's no way that harpooning is incorrect. Because those characters don't contribute. I mean, it doesn't matter which character you harpoon matron. Both characters have 0 military strength with their dishonored status. Well, this game started out really slow, and then it's over pretty quickly, with characters or players just losing like 3-4 honor in a turn from not drawing. I wonder what the percentage of Scorpion matchups that end on Dishonor versus strong Conquest.
I believe we could pull up that data. Okay, we see the GG come down. Can't
Yeah,
disagree with that.
yeah. So Wydwen continuing his dominance. So that is, let's see, he went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So he's on 8 wins in a row now in terms of cups. So 6 from last season, and then he is 2-0 so far this season. He will be playing the winner of Bill and Anemone, who are playing tomorrow, actually. So he will either get a lion or another scorpion mirror. And so that is going to be the cast. I will catch you guys next time. Thanks again to Luke for casting. Thanks for chat for participating, and have a nice day.
Bye bye.